So the Queen was started on her way down the Mall, past Trafalgar Square, to move along the Thames embankment to Westminster. Here, in the Abbey Church of St. Peter, Westminster, a great congregation of 7,000, come from every part of the world, awaits the arrival of Her Majesty. And we'll see very shortly the procession as it passes right up the great church. And as they pass into the Coronation Theatre, there before them will lie the great altar with all its massive plate arrayed upon it. Dominating the whole, there stands on the small dais that you see the throne. And below the throne, there stands King Edward's chair. The old, worn chair in which, for centuries, kings have been crowned.
And here you see more than 30,000 school children cheering their heads off, having the time of their lives on this coronation day as they see all the Queen's horses and men going by. And at last the coach, for which all eyes have been waiting and all cheers as they give forth full-throated.
And now, to the left, the Lord High Constable of England, Viscount Allenbrook. In the centre, the Marquis of Salisbury bears the sword of state. To the right, the Earl Marshal, the Duke of Norfolk. Attended all by their pages, and then followed by St. Edward's crown, borne by the Lord High Steward, Admiral of the Fleet, the Viscount Cunningham of Hindle. On his right, the orb is borne by Earl Alexander of Tunis. Then the pattern, the Bible, and the chalice. And as the music rises in triumph, we await Her Majesty the Queen.
will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the peoples of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the Union of South Africa, Pakistan, and Ceylon, and of your possessions and the other territories to any of them belonging or pertaining, according to their respective laws and customs.
I solemnly promise so to do.
Her Majesty being now anointed, wearing the colobium sindonis and the supertunica or close pall of cloth of gold, together with a girdle of the same, is seated once more in King Edward's chair. Then shall the orb with the cross be brought from the altar by the Dean of Westminster and delivered into the Queen's right hand by the Archbishop.
Receive the royal scepter, the ensign of kingly power and justice. Receive the rod of equity and mercy. Be so merciful that you be not too remiss, so execute justice that you forget not mercy. O God, the crown of the faithful, bless, we beseech thee, this crown, and so sanctify thy servant Elizabeth, upon whose head this day thou dost place it for a sign of royal majesty.
Good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel, my YouTube world. My name is iCubian. I am a Brexiteer. This is my Brexit video. This is why, as a person of brown hue, my parents came to this country by way of the Caribbean. But I am not Jamaican or of Jamaican extract, and we'll get into some of that in a minute. But first of all, I have to tell you why I am staunchly for the first European Union. The United Kingdom is a European Union. It's had its problems and difficulties, and thanks to the idiot, but that was Tony Blair, Tony Blair, he's coming with all this devolution. Oh, the first step to splitting up the union and getting us ingratiated into the slave state that is the EU. Well, let's not start with hyperbole. Let's just deal with the facts as they are. Today is Saturday the 3rd of February 2018, and I'm going to say from the jump, I don't like political correctness. I don't like where it comes from. I don't like what it's about, what it's doing, and what its end result will be. And if we really project really sincerely about man's innate desire to want to be free, we could see a civil war on terra firma, United Kingdom, or even a European conflagration with the EU. Now, you've got to understand where we are in the first place. So on this video, what I'm going to play for you, or I haven't decided yet, but I've either played the Grenadier Guards theme tune, and now I'm speaking, or it will come after. I like it because as a child coming up, it was something that roused me. The national anthem didn't. It just sounded like a dirge, but this is one of the tunes that I liked, you know? And to be quite honest, I think the French one is good. I think the American one sounds, sounds upbeat, It should be something to uplift the people, but be that as it may. A lot of people misunderstand what is going on in the media, and unfortunately I cannot get onto mainstream radio stations. You've got the, LBCs and the BBCs. They will not allow me on because what they do is, like my pit helmet. What it is, if you phone into one of these talk shows, that they allow freedom to public to discuss, if you phone in, and then they've got a filter system. So somebody says, oh, what do you want to ask the presenter? Or what's your point to the presenter? If you say something that is true, that exposes the presenter for being the liar that he is, no matter how cogent and intelligent and articulate you express yourself, we'll call you back. They never do. And they never do when it comes to the EU. And so, I'm just going to do something. I'll keep speaking, because unfortunately, I'm not a professional, but I forgot to bring some crucial documents to aid me in my case as to why I'm a Brexiteer. Now, first of all, God gave me inviolable rights, if you want to be more correct in its pronunciation. Inviolable means no government, you are free, and no one can hinder you, and you have freedom, the right to be wrong is what I say, and we have that, it's innate within all of us as human beings. You got a baby, you wouldn't put something in their mouth, but babies, they explore by touch, feel, and taste to the mouth. They put it in their mouth, and they're finding out what it is and finding out about themselves as well. I'm a mature student. I'm studying an MA, and I'm an educator and amateur historian as well. So I am not a professional. Oops, there's my helmet again. I'm not a professional, but then again, to be a professional historian nowadays, it's political correct, and you're not allowed to speak about certain issues, okay? Which I find abhorrent. The truth is no friend of anyone. It just is, and you either grow up and accept it and grow some, or you hide under a shell, or like we have today in this PC world, this misandric PC world. Feelings matter, facts don't, okay? And I've had enough. I'm done with your feminism, I'm done with your political correctness, I'm done with your race baiting, I'm done with your stupidity, I'm done with your lies, etc. I can go on and on and on. So the first thing for me about the European Union, of course a lot of people talk about immigration or migration. And I agree with that. I'm not against Eastern Europeans, per se. I don't know them. I haven't got a friend named Olav or whatever his name is, or her name is. But if you have a nation, and we do, we have a realm, it's the United Kingdom, then we need to enforce the borders. Okay? We need to enforce the borders. And if you've got illegals coming in, get them out. Alright? That's number one. Two, we have our own high housing crisis. Let's not add to it. In 2005, Blair changed the system. Once upon a time, there was a housing waiting list. And you complained. I was on it. I've been on it for years. A single man. I'll be on it. And Blair got the idea that we don't need a waiting list, because you know what a waiting list means. It means last to come in on the waiting list, probably going to be last to be housed. And if you're going to introduce people who are not of this nation, like, you know, the EU, you know, I remember them saying there's going to be loads of jobs and jobs, it's going to be great. Well, not for English people, not for English people speaking here, who were born here. So, if somebody, you open the borders, they come in, and they want, well, my argument was this. First of all, if there's going to be loads of jobs, and as I'm now seeing, these jobs are going to these Eastern Europeans, don't put them on the council, let them go and rent private. If the jobs are if they're paid that well, because Brits are lazy, but all these great paying jobs, Brits don't want to take, because they're lazy, but the Europeans will. Well, if it pays that well, they should be able to rent private. They shouldn't be able to go on the council and get council housing. But oh no, in 2005, Blair changed the waiting list system to a bidding system, which means, in effect, somebody from Romania can come in on a Monday, visit a local council, as you've got all these agencies to help them, and people like Diane Abbott to help them settle in, and they can go on the bidding system. So on Monday they arrive, they go to straight put a name on the bidding system. Do you know on Tuesday they can get a flat? And your sons, who are 17, 18, 19, 20, and your daughters 20, 22, 23, are at loggerheads. They're now ready to flee the nest, but you can't get them on the housing waiting, get a council flat, because the Labour people, you know, Labour Party, supposed to be the party of the poor, and the down-pressed and so forth, and the vulnerable. They have said, oh, screw you and your British struggles, we're going to concern with somebody else, who has a homeland anyway, and we're going to give him what we would call in the business, eat your supper. So that property that would have gone to one of your daughters or your son, so that they can grow and be adult and understand what maturity is and paying bills, and stop having to go and miss each other and love each other when they embrace each other and help each other, they don't get that relationship. Somebody who's never paid in, has never struggled under the Industrial Revolution, their history was 17 years behind the Iron Curtain, the enemy, can just walk in on a Monday and a Tuesday get a council flat. I kid you not, it's theoretical and true. Okay. I'm not against the individual, I'm against the people who brought the policy in and let it be that. And let's be honest, the Labour Party did it. And I was once a socialist. Whoa, how we mature and grow up, eh? Okay. So, I'm also creationist. I'm a young earth creationist, but Lennox made a point, and I take his point on board, so I don't claim that the earth is just 6,000 years old, but I will say it's not millions and millions and billions and billions of years old. That's ridiculous, but that's a different argument. We are talking about Brexit and my reasons. First reason, I believe in freedom of speech. I don't care if it offends you, but if anything I say offends you, you don't get to shut me down, you don't get to bring a law to get me locked up, you don't ruin my life, you don't call me names. I don't know, what is it now? Climate change denier, hate speech, racist, bigot, Holocaust denier, anything that that can shut down or attempts to shut down my free expression. Now, it was John Stuart Mill who, in this book, it's called On Liberty, in this book, makes the great case, my bookmarker's gone, he makes the great case for freedom of speech. I'm not going to read it now because it's very difficult to read at this moment in time. I'm just going to refer you to it, and if I can tell you which page it actually is, just by a quick flick through, then I'll tell you which page it actually is. Because I have, page 76, okay? on liberty. The greatest speech to defend freedom of speech. And I've heard of the the counter-arguments. I'm going to write an essay on that, and I'm going to put it to bed. I shall defend John Stuart Mill's brilliant 19th century analysis and truth, and I'm going to destroy the professors and everybody else, and those idiots who just repeat, oh, shouting fire in a crowded cinema. That's definitely a reason to limit your freedom of speech. No, it isn't. And I'm going to show you how ridiculous that is. But anyway, the EU and my right to freedom of speech within the United Kingdom, okay? The first European Union, okay? Now, at the war's end, Eleanor Roosevelt, wife of Theodore Delano Roosevelt, not Theodore, it's Franklin Delano Roosevelt, get your presidents right. She commissioned the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, bear in mind, I believe God gave you your inviolable rights. No man can write what you can do and what you can't do. No man, no man. That's between you and your Creator. However, it is Article 19 that I think runs in accord with God's law. And if I can just pull it up. Yeah, pardon me, I've got my old gloves on. I should take my gloves off, really, because I've already told you I am a man of colour. Okay, is this it? Yes. Well, this one's 22. Article 19. Article 19. Okay, here we are. Article 19. Please bear with me. These are some points that have never been discussed with the Remainers and the Brexiteers at the time. We were working towards and emerging towards that momentous day. I think it's June 23rd, right? 2016. We voted to come out. Article 19 says this: everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. And as an educator, amateur historian, I believe in that right. Because once we start to limit that, it will get to the point in the Marxist world that you can't say, hey, thief. Because they're going to say, oh, you've offended him. In fact, in Europe, they have that law right now. It's not what you say. We don't care about the information and the truth. That person's feelings trump what you said. You offended that group. Okay? And so therefore, it will come to a point where we have hell on earth where you can't say rape, thief, stop, murder, murderer. Because your freedom to say something will offend somebody. That's freedom. So that's the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19, runs according to God. You've got freedom to teach and say whatever you feel, right? Now, we all know as a society, we socialise one another not to be rude. You know, nobody's going to break one, well, you ought not to break one around the dinner table when people are eating or in a lift, spitting on the street. We understand that. And telling people, how ugly they are, that's cultural norms. Now, that was in 1947. And then you've got this one that came into effect 1948, a year later. And this is the European Convention on Human Rights. Okay? Now, there is nothing wrong with the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19, that gives you freedom of speech. But somebody, the big boys, the big players, didn't like that. They plan ahead. Okay? And they said, we've got to undermine that. We cannot have anybody having freedom of speech. Because if they've got freedom of speech to teach, they may look at World War I and World War II and say, well, hang on, it's not the way it was, and here is the truth. And expose us. So that will start in Europe. It was a European war. Conflagration that brought everybody in. So let's try to restrict their speech in Europe, and this is how they did it. They revisit that Article 19, and this is what they say. It's Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights. Okay, remember, God gives you rights, but men with money are trying to bring in organisations to say, pay attention to this, abide by this, forget God. We don't know that he exists, he doesn't. We all come from swinging monkeys, or there is, as Dawkins say, a cousin, a missing cousin that you can't find even one scintilla of a... anyway, different argument, and we'll get through some of these videos on these easy topics to defeat. Right. So Article 10 says this. Everyone has the right to freedom of expression. This right shall include freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas, it should be and ideas, without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. They've already put by public authority already in there. And regardless of frontiers. This article shall not prevent states from requiring licensing or broadcasting television or cinema enterprises. So you've got something going on here, right, already. We can argue the wheres and rights and wherefores and get into the detail of that. They're not giving you the detail, they're making a broad statement here. But Article 2, or subsection 2, is what I'm concerned with. The exercise of these freedoms, since it carries with it duties and responsibilities, may be subject to such formalities, conditions, restrictions, or penalties as are prescribed by law and are necessary in a democratic society. In the interest of national security, territorial integrity, or public safety, for the prevention of disorder or crime, for the protection of health or morals, for the protection of the reputation or the rights of others, for preventing the discourse of information received in confidence, or for maintaining the authority and impartiality of the judiciary. Now that's a lot to tag on to your right to freedom of speech. It actually then says, basically, you don't have it. We believe that we've got some man-made edicts that trump your right to freedom of speech, whereas they don't. Okay? So this is a part of what the Europe project is about. However, the European Court of Justice, which is the European legal arm, rejects both. They will not follow this, and they don't particularly follow that. They pick and cherry pick what they want. Okay? Pick and cherry pick what they want. In other words, the European Court of Justice will do what it wants and thinks what it feels is best. Right? So it doesn't have a standard that the finest men, or in this case, Eleanor Roosevelt, produced in 1947, which, to me, guarantees my God-given right to freedom of speech. I don't mind that. I applaud that. You know, women do have a use, and I applaud what she's done there, right? So they don't want to abide by the finest minds, and they don't want to abide by the greatest mind, if you will, creation. Okay? So that's my first point. In the EU, you do not have freedom of speech. Okay? You do not, right? And there are plenty of cases where somebody's opinion about an event has landed them in jail, right? The Holocaust being one. There are some people who don't believe it. They say there's no evidence for it, and you take away the Hollywood movies, and what's the other thing? Pictures of emaciated bodies, etc., and the emotionalism out of it. They would suggest that there was no 6 million Jews murdered by the German army under the orders of Hitler's, and there were no homicidal gas chambers at Auschwitz, etc. Now that, to some people, may be a straight up stupid, idiotic, nonsense view, okay? But why would you want to bring in a law to put people in jail if they expressed it? I mean, have we not gone through the Enlightenment period where if you said ascribe to the heliocentric theory as opposed to the geocentric theory, you get burned at the stake. You'd be called a heretic. Today you're a denial. Can we not see, number one, there is a regression of an advancement of intelligence and thought, as John Stuart Mill makes the greatest argument for, okay? And it's not being defeated, but it gets quietly hidden, okay? Especially by the left. So I'm going to revive that, and I'm going to kick some ass over it as well. Different argument for a different time. We're going to deal with this freedom of speech issue. Now, if somebody said, well, your folks, you know, originally came from the Caribbean, they were British subjects, and then you came over here and blah, blah, blah. We don't believe the transatlantic slave trade happened. Well, for some people, that's going to be a ridiculous statement to make. But there's no way I'm going to be saying, I want the law to protect, you know, the lives and the deaths of people who suffered, and I object to him saying that. No, he's got every right to say it if that's how he feels. The most I would say, okay, we've passed through a period of enlightenment and logic. Can we debate this? Let's get the biggest forum on television. Your best boys, my best boys. We follow the conventions of a debate. You got 20 minutes opening gambit. I have a 20-minute opening gambit. You have a 10 to 15-minute rebuttal. I have a 10 to 15-minute rebuttal. Whilst each of us are doing our business, we do not interrupt each other. We produce our slideshows and evidences, whatever it is. Then we answer questions, and then the public asks us questions, and we leave it in the ether for those intelligent to discern who won what. It goes on YouTube for posterity, whatever the case may be. But that's where it goes. We defeat one another with a better argument and with the truth. The left don't believe there is a truth. They don't believe in absolute truth. They believe in perceptions and feelings. Well, you can't unmake the wheel. You can't unmake night, you can't unmake day, you can't unmake up, you can't unmake down, you can't unmake good, you can't unmake evil. These are factors that guide our thinking and how we are to live. The arguments that the left have with social constructionism is another video I'm going to deal with. We are dealing with the EU and why I'm a Brexiteer. So first of all, we've dealt with freedom of speech and freedom of expression and thought, okay? I believe that to the to the utmost. We'll live and die and fight for that, okay? The second thing is this. There are a lot of people, especially to the left, and there are some blacks, when I say use the term blacks, in this country we've got these, what Americans call micro stations. Over here we call them pirate radio stations. They're not exactly legal, but I believe some of these guys are government stooges. And what they do, under a low level, they get small audiences, and they really are racist, and they keep it bubbling. They don't like Britain, but yet they're in Britain. They don't like England, yet they're in England. They seem to hate white people. They mischaracterize and emphasize. They are a cancer to the black community, okay? But they are the voice, because the government allows them on an illegal radio station to broadcast every week. I'm talking about the likes of Galaxy Radio, and the likes of Genesis. You've only got to listen to these presenters, and you realise they haven't even got an education enough to even formulate a point or a question, and they have a lot of difficulty reading text messages. So if you gave them, I don't know, basic English to read, they'll be fumbling and stumbling all over the words and looking at one another and saying, these are words. But they talk a lot. Anyway, the EU. What's good about the United Kingdom and slavery? Well, it abolished slavery. It abolished slavery over a period. First in the trafficking of slaves, or buying and selling slaves, and then in the trafficking of slaves on the high seas. 1803, 1807, 1833 are important dates. I'm not going to talk about slavery per se. Okay, and after World War II, the war that Britain could not afford, but were forced into it by the bankers, and were broke, they couldn't maintain their empire and their satellite countries, you know, of the Commonwealth in the African continent, their holdings and positions there. But what they did do was to give them a pseudo-independence, okay? And of course, although they let the strings go, they were very scared of them being socialized communist, okay? Communism was on the rise and it's been promoted. Well, a lot of people don't know it was capitalist banks that kept the boogie, the dichotomy going in the first place. Again, if you know, I'm an educator and I can educate the left if they care to listen. They don't like to listen. They don't like your freedom of speech. They just want them to speak, and they'll call you names and say you don't have right to speak. But that's a different thing. The bottom line is, there was a fear that communism was spreading, and it might, to these new countries, Jamaica being one, may turn communism and the advancement of communism, which is a bad thing, by the way. It really is. It doesn't believe in your freedom of speech or rights. So, they had kind of, you know, long strings, right? And whether it's right or wrong, and I suppose in the bigger picture you would say, well, colonialism was wrong in the first place, whatever the case may be, whatever. We can get into that, it's another argument. The point I'm trying to make is there are these people, millennials and all these idiots, who are complaining two things, okay? The open border where hordes of Europeans can come over and take that which they never ever, not even their ancestors helped to build, and get for free. Also, there are those countries that have been destroyed where people from the Middle East and Africa, whatever, are trafficked through Europe, and then having got and arrived in Europe and given safe sanctuary, then come over to the UK as EU citizens, and therefore burden our schools, health service, and so forth. That's got to stop. Right? I don't care who they are, but I've always said it before, if the UK keeps following the bankers' example of how to be at peace with your neighbours and act on a global stage, well, your foreign policy is going to affect your domestic policy. That's what we're seeing with hordes of people whose country has been destroyed by illegal wars, lies about Libya, lies about Iraq. Don't be surprised if they come at your doorstep saying, okay, we want to come over here. So, you know, at some stage, we have to grow up and get those politicians who actually caused this in the first place. Well, anyway, I was talking about the post-Second World War and the independence of India arise in Jamaica in the 60s, etc., and other places. But I found out that France also had an empire as well. Not as big, and it lost in the global language fight, in that the language of business and around the world, it's not German, and it's not French, it's not Spanish, it's actually English. I think Spanish comes close second. French has got their African colonies, you know, Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, etc. But 14, this is the article. Because if you leave it to me, I'll micro-speak everything. So if you can see, it's quite clear. 14 African countries forced by France to pay colonial tax. Now this is very interesting. This is France that's leading the EU with Germany. And I'm going to read a piece of this article, not a lot of it, but just bear with me, I'm sorry you may not hear it that well. It said, did you know many African countries continue to pay colonial tax to France since their independence till this very day? When Secretary of Guinea decided in 1958 to get out of the French colonial empire and opted for the country's independence, the French colonial elite in Paris got so furious, and in a historic act of fury, the French administration in Guinea destroyed everything in the country which represented what they called the benefits of French colonialization. 3,000 French left the country, taking all their property, fair enough, it's theirs, anything that which could not be moved. Schools, nursery, public administration buildings were crumbled. Cars, books, medicine, research institute instruments, tractors were crushed and sabotaged. Horses, cows in the farms were killed, and food in warehouses were burned or poisoned. Poisoned? I wonder why you do that. Burn it, fine, it's yours. Your property you burn. Or is it? Whatever. The purpose of this outrageous act was to send a clear message to all other colonies that the consequences for rejecting France would be very high. Now, so you've got 14 countries who tried to follow the English example and receive their independence. But you know how some European countries are, especially France. We're not independent enough to stand on our own 2 feet and build with our counterparts. We subjugate them. So this liberty, equality, fraternité is colour-coded. Now, I'm a Brexiteer because I can see opportunities for Britain to be a superpower par excellence that would surpass America. Got to think outside the box to do it. That may be another video. I'm just telling you, when you vote for the EU, you are voting for more of this. This is an imperialist country suppressing nations that are not allowed to benefit from its own products. It has to pay a colonial tax. And you believe France has given them independence? You must be crazy. That's who you're voting for, more of this. Now, I mentioned earlier on about a couple of micro stations in the community in London. I think they're dotted all over the place, and I think they're government run. And they get these dropout blacks from Jamaica to host these radio stations, Galaxy being one, and certain presenters, I can't say for sure, Genesis, but there's certain presenters on there I just don't have any truck for, alright? Now, I wondered why Galaxy in particular was so pro-EU, and they're pro-EU, only to find out that the EU have been given a stipend to Jamaica. Do you understand that? A stipend to Jamaica, buying them out so that they can be on side and that the blacks can voice, as they have been, to be pro-EU and more enslavement. If they don't like the United Kingdom, they certainly ain't going to like the EU, even though at first they're giving you sweet sugar candy. Okay? So that's the fact there. Right? So, freedom of speech I believe in. 2, the EU is using monies to subvert the will of black people and to miseducate them via the government's micro pirate stations that are giving a message to hate England, to hate white people, but at the same time approve of the EU. I think that doesn't make sense to me. The other thing is France is suppressing African countries. Okay? I just don't get that. And if you cared about reparations, and some they claim they do, I don't believe it. The EU is certainly not for that. They're not going to give you money. There is not one country in the EU that has gone as far as the UK has to give black people some kind of rights. I don't think they, when I say rights, equality. Now I'm going to put that in quotes because at the end of the day, people write nice things and they introduce nice laws, but they have many ways of undermining it. There's lots of work to do, but this is my home. No one says your home is going to be perfect. It's just the way it is, and it's for me to play my role and explain why I am pro-Brexit. Those are some of my reasons. Amongst the others, control your borders. Spend the money on issues that make your country more solidified. Train nurses. Don't be telling me you're opening the borders because you want Eastern European nurses. No. Have a program to encourage girls not to be running around crazy, having sex and babies. Tell them they can make a good living being a nurse. This caring profession, women excelling. It's not a lowly profession. It is a profession that is needed, required. And we need our homegrown to have ethics. We need our own teachers. We need our own police officers. We need to swell the army. We need to be building ships. We need to be an industrial nation that looks after itself. I will tell you what greatness this United Kingdom can do. And we can export quite a lot. It doesn't have to be arms and violence. It really doesn't, right? It doesn't. And I'm not a leftist, right? Let's get this straight. I grew up. So, let's look at what's going on with Brexit at this moment in time. Now, Priti Patel made a point the other day, and I've always said it because they've been saying for 40 years Britain has been contributing to the budget of the European Union. And I think somebody said it's something like, I haven't got the actual figures, it's something like 10 billion they give to the EU, and the EU gives back a nominal amount. I'm just going to pick a figure out of the sky, right? Don't hold me on that. So we give them 10, they give us back 5. And they decide what projects that 5 billion is going to be spent on. So where's the other 5 billion per year? So her argument is if you total up how much over the years we have actually been given to the EU, they need to give us a rebate. And the reason why this come about is because the EU were throwing the toys out the pram that we don't want to be part of that project anymore because it wasn't what it was and it isn't going to be what it's stated is now, aims are now, and nobody knows what it's going to be in the future, but there are projections and concepts that have been leaked that they want a European army, etc., etc. They want to admit that. So they want a divorce bill. They want a big, huge sum. I think sums like 120 billion and all kinds of ridiculous sums were being said, or 120 million, or whatever it was, that we need to pay them to be free. And Priti Patel basically said this week, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, she put it to David Davies, she kind of waffled about it, that in fact they should pay us, right? Come on, I agree with that. I mean, really? You know, I would have said we'll cut our losses. But since you're saying a divorce bill, well, then you give us the money back, because we don't owe you shit, right? We don't owe you nothing. So that was interesting this week. And then there was Theresa May's Chancellor, Philip Hammond, who seemed to roll back or show a sign of weakness in the face of achieving Brexit by the leaving date. And Jacob Rees-Mogg has done, he's read, and he's understood interim and transitional. Now, the transitional period means, although we're leaving, until we've actually worked out all the trade deals or whatever, whether there's not going to be a trade deal, right, until 2020, we're still subject to EU law and any new edicts they may come in and funds, which means at the express date of leaving, the 19th, on the 2019, which is supposed to be cut off. We don't have no laws with you anymore. We can sort out those business after the fact, but we cut off at that point. To me, it was too long anyway. Should have been this year, but I accept the 19th. Cut off. That's it. They're trying to expand, right? By using transitional, the term transitional, and Theresa May has used it herself, and Jacob Rees-Mogg is saying, stick to your Lancaster House speech. Understand what you said. Stand by it. I stand by you, and forget this transitional and allowing Europe another 2 years to keep the border, and we be subject to people coming in and having to pay them benefits, etc. And a whole can of worms on our local health services and housing services and the like. As far as I'm concerned, I'd roll back on it. You know, tough titty. Blair was a criminal anyway, shouldn't have done it. And this is something I really got to say. And let's get this straight. In the beginning of this video, I played the Queen's coronation. Okay? The Queen's coronation. Now, you've got to listen to what she... This is a contract between people, the subjects, we, and her. So long as she abides by it, fine. 2012 was a reiteration of that. I played the video when she made a speech, okay? It was a bit of a so what speech, because she really should have emphasised what her contract with the people is and that she's been a good steward of that contract, and I respect her for it. But she should be saying, we are a European Union. And for those speaking out, the MPs speaking out, mind your words. Because to speak out against this European Union is treason. And to put ideas of another entity upon it for the people is seditious. Now the CPS are not doing this, and I hope this video makes it quite clear. This is treason. 2012 will remind you, okay? Sedition, okay? Do not think you are not guilty of it. Because I tell you now, you complain that soft Brexit and we don't know what Brexit means and we need an explanation. You could not tell me what the end result of what the EU want. They're not telling you, they're just going to give you a directive and you accept it. You have no idea where it's going, but you're willing to sell out. You're willing to sell out this European Union, the United Kingdom, for at least you've got some say and understanding. But you shouldn't even have a say, because you want to join the European Union where you don't have any elected officials and you just go by directives. You don't want a say. So why should you have a say in this debate? And I say straight, you Remainers, you guys should have no say whatsoever. The minute you say you want to vote for the EU, who give you no say, at that point, you're seditious, you're a traitor, and in this debate about the sovereignty of this nation, of this realm, the United Kingdom, a Christian realm that allows all weary to come and rest their head and to find sanctuary. But it does not deny the right of a member of the faith to proselytize. It's a proselytizing faith. It really is. So you can go to Russia and seek sanctuary. You can go to Iran or let's do Saudi Arabia and seek sanctuary. And you know, for those Jews who live here, if you want Aliyah, you can go to Israel. Go seek sanctuary over there. But this is the Christian faith, okay? And reiterated in 2012. If you didn't like it, you shouldn't be here. It's as simple as that. Sedition and treason is a serious matter that, again, you can't get on the mainstream media to bring that issue up, because when you phone through, they say, "Ooh, I can't have you saying this." Because our favourite Remainer, well, we don't want to see him in jail or her in jail. But I don't care whether people think it's hyperbole or it's offensive to say it. It's not offensive. What's offensive to see these people rambling on and saying they want to say in what type of Brexit, but you have no say in how the EU is just morphing and destroying countries as it goes along, and not telling you about it. It's telling you go along with it. So that's my point there. I think those are my main reasons for being a Brexiteer. So who are the players? Theresa May, I'm going to say it straight. I have no truck for people that hide from the fight. And she hid from the fight. We had females on both sides, Remain and Brexit. Kate Hoey, Labour, she wants a Brexit. Andrea Leadsom, Brexit. Isabella Bunchen, the German lady, MP, Brexit. These are females who came out for the fight, and they were debating and so forth. It's common knowledge on the media, at least putting it to us, that Theresa May is a Remainer, but didn't even come out, or hid from wanting to show that she was a Remainer. So she took no part in the debate. And we're supposed to believe, well, perhaps, you know, I don't know what we're supposed to believe. But there was a fight going on, and it's a fight for the soul of this nation, whether it has its own sovereignty or not. And she didn't think it was important enough for her to step forward. That, to me, disqualifies her from being a Tory party leader. Guess what? She's Tory party leader. I'm not a Tory, but, you know, any wonder? They make her, somebody who wasn't pro-Brexit, having to drive the car. I'm like, and she's stalling and swaying on the road and stopping here, and I'm like, what? This woman doesn't have the dream. Now, I'm a man of colour. I see lots of opportunities, great opportunities, and I'll make a video about that. Trust me, I'll make a video about that. Listen, as a man of colour, there's racism everywhere. But I mean, if I'm going to say there's racism here, racism there, and that's all I'm going to do, then I'm not living my life. not everybody's going to like me, and some people have a right not to like me for whatever the reason it is. That's their right. Their feelings are their feelings. I'm not getting into their soul or in their mind. I can only put down a good voice, and that's that. I don't believe in the hate or you know, I don't like that person because they're of that hue, they come from that country. You know, I treat as I see, and as I see and I experience, that's what it is. Nobody's perfect in this world. No nation is perfect in this world, etc. So Theresa May is weak, and on this issue she should go. But there is one person that I think has actually come out, and I actually like him. I actually liked him. I liked him before there became a kind of craze, a notable craze by the media, and that's Jacob Rees-Mogg. Now, North East Somerset MP, backbencher, and he went to Eden. He speaks correct English, you know, very, I just love to hear him. But on the issue of Brexit, is, for me, the best by none. And yesterday he got caught up in a fracas with the Antifa lefties, you know, the hooligans that think that their worldview is the only worldview, and if you don't agree with them, they automatically call you a Nazi or whatever the case may be, but you ain't supposed to speak. And we're not going to debate you. We don't think you should have a voice at all. It's our way. And so he was at a speech, can't remember where, seen the papers today, and this bunch started to shout him down. And the video I saw was, it's like one of them, like a university, it was at a university, so you got the slanting floor and the lecturers down there with the big screen behind him, and then the boo boys are here. Jacob Rees-Mogg, now he's a very slim man, he described himself as a weed. I saw an interview, this guy described himself as a weed. I think it was Jeff Phillips he was talking to. So, you know, he's not one of those, yeah, you know what I mean, he's a polite chap, nice chap, whatever. Jacob leaves the spot, and he's bowling up the stairs to go to talk to these guys. And I'm like, what? And he's striding now. He's not angry, he's striding. Now, I know what he wants to do. He'd like to hear what their views are, you know, simmer down the argument. I'll give you time. I would always love to give the left time. But I realise they don't want to shut up, and it's your turn. And when you start to talk, they talk on top of you, even though they've just witnessed your example by giving them free speech to say what they want, and then they repeat again, as if you didn't hear it the first time. And the minute you start talking, and they, they sense that their position is weak, then they interrupt, name call. So he's going to have this debate because the left are very weak, especially when you've got historical facts to deal with them. I think I'll enjoy a lot of that. I just hope on my channel they don't waste my time by just throwing out garbage comments and hyperbole and ad hominem. So he's gone to have a debate with them, and then they've been shouting him down, and then someone's coming on Jacob's, well, they see it's an insult anyway. The man's trying to have a discussion with you to find out what your issues are. And a front punch is being thrown, and there's Jacob in there. He's trying to like, hey. And I'm like, right on. You would think that guy would be the biggest chicken and hiding behind the, you know, George Bush style, behind the you know, everybody get the security in there, you know, yes, and Charles, you know, everybody's giving it, yeah, my cufflinks are more important, like their cufflinks were shaken. But he went straight for it, bit naive. Because these guys could have anything from acid to pepper spray, whatever. But he went to have this debate with them, and it all kicked off. And I think he can't do much wrong at the moment, because everything he needs to do, even though I think that was naive of him, because something could have come to him. And he may need protecting because he's really going into working class men and women are beginning to realise, just because he's got a plummy voice, and you know the left like to say, oh, the Tories, yes, rich spoon fed, silver spoon. Well, let's just be honest. David Beckham is now a multi-millionaire. His sons are going to go to the best schools in the world, right? Or whatever money can buy. Is it the baby's fault? It isn't, is it? Okay? And to make any nation rich, how did it happen? Somebody has to create something, right? The Soviet Union. From where did it get its money? To build one rocket. To build one army. Doesn't believe in capitalism. So please tell us what the system was. How did they have anything to go to in space and beat the Americans? Where did that money come from? Wake up. Grow, son. Grow up. Mature. Take things from an academic perspective. Take your emotions out. Be dispassionate. Weigh it up. Read real history books. Understand that when you actually start speaking the truth, people don't like it. Okay? Ask yourself why. And then revisit this man. He's a white man. Do you think I care? Do you think I care? I don't have to say, sniff his underpants to find out whether he washed himself. I don't care. He makes a good point. The Spirit of God was in the man when he wrote this. He may not accept that it was. Right? But it's in accord with what the Spirit of God was in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19. Thanks for that notification. How many times do I have to do a broadcast and somebody interferes with... Anyway. So my reasons for Brexit are that. I think Theresa May's got to go. She's been too soft with Michael Barnier and European Union. She could have at least embraced Nigel Farage. This would never have happened if it wasn't for Nigel Farage. I understand that it's been costly for him, his family and so forth, for this 20-year struggle that he did to bring it to what it was. He needs a break, he needs to rebuild his life and so forth. UKIP is in a bit of problems at the moment, and I suppose, I get the feeling, there are a lot of people that wouldn't mind him back at the helm. I being one of them, because I don't trust Theresa May at all. And she's not making the right sounds. And if I, a mere layperson, can make better sounds, and I could take the sense in the arguments that Jacob Rees-Mogg is making, and others, I just cannot see how it never comes out of her mouth. Why doesn't nothing proactive and forward-thinking come out of her mouth? Why is she always reactionary? And that incident that happened yesterday with the fracas, I could not see Theresa May going forward up there, bowling up there, to do anything. But then again, Commander Cressida Dick is 5'2". She's the Chief Commissioner of Police. I don't know, I can't believe a woman about 120 pounds or 100 pounds could take down anybody. I see that political correctness, that appointment there, but that's a different argument. They're not going to go into the fracas to stop anything. He did. And he may be tall, but, he's beanpole. Anybody could have clocked him, but he relied on his intelligence, his decency, his decorum and common sense to win the day. And, of course, with the left, they're thugs. They're pretty much thugs that do not like freedom of speech. So, I hope you like the video. I played the Grenadier Guards tune either at the beginning or it's going to be played at the end because I like the tune as a kid. And I've got my Union Jack. I will get myself a St. George because at the end of the day, I may be of Caribbean extract, but I'm born in Europe, makes me European. I'm born in England, that makes me the son of the soil. I'm English. And the collective United Kingdom, then, I'm from the UK. I don't have a problem with that issue. I think there's a lot that we can do. It is the hand that we've been dealt, and I'm not about to destroy that hand. Now, let's be quite honest. When I go to the toilet, I wipe my ass with tissue paper, but, my hand. You know what I mean? It is, what's the point I'm making? I don't mean to be gross, but I'm saying the United Kingdom and most nations, they don't have perfect past. And to tether one's today to the past as if one hasn't moved forward, it's not good. Yes, are there people with prejudiced opinions in positions of power that use that prejudice to deliver no justice or to not deliver justice when it's recognised? Yes, we know this. you know, we know this, but we are of the United Kingdom, and we're going to make it better. And those of us who recognise it, it's not that we don't like. Well, I'm saying it's not that I don't. You know, oh, he's racist. I don't like white people. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I can't have a blanket statement for all blacks, all Chinese, all, you know. If you're a creationist and you believe in Jesus Christ, fine. You're okay with me. If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, you shouldn't really be in this country in the first place, right? And will those government agents stop playing this Muslim Christianity bashing? I'll leave you with a salient point. Now, you've got 4 guys, and they have got to get to Oxford Street for 12 o'clock. One takes his bicycle, and he likes to keep fit, so he rides the streets and he gets to Oxford Street, 12 o'clock. Another has an Oyster car, so he goes on London Transport, and he likes the scenic route, so he sits down and has a word with the passengers and so forth, and he watches out the window as it's going through London, seeing the sights. Another drives his car, just brand new car, and he doesn't mind paying the parking. It's all part of an experience of having a car and filling your car up with petrol and, you know, buying a parking ticket and looking at it and saying, that's my first parking ticket, and I drove here and I'm driving back. Okay, and then the other one said, well, look, I could take a tube, to, you know, and I'll get it that, you know, whatever, right? They all reach there 12 o'clock. They start an argument. And I'm like, what the hell are you arguing about? Well, you know what I mean, like, you know, I got air, blah, 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 and I'm healthy for it, and such and such. And the other one say, well, boy, you know what I mean, I got air conditioning in my car, bro. You don't know what you're talking about. And the other one said, well, I don't know what you're wasting your money for. I mean, how do you don't even see London, really. I mean, you're in traffic jams, helping to pollute the earth and all the rest of it, your exhaust and such and such. And the other one says, well, look, I rode, and I didn't do anything, and I had to tolerate all of your stuff, and they're all arguing about blah, 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 blah. And then I come along and said, listen, I gave you a job, you chose the way to get here, okay? These ways to get here, I allowed you to do it. You know, I allowed you, I gave you access to it, and you got there at 12 o'clock. Now, will you stop telling me that your way's better than his way, and his way's better than your way, and your way's better than what? If you got there at 12 o'clock, end of story. So the fact that Muslims do believe in Jesus Christ, they do believe in a one God and a creator. How they get there, it's just my view, right? How they got there is irrelevant. They are there, okay? And there is a mission and an understanding. And he that says insists that he's better, he's definitely missed the point. As those 4 guys have missed the point, so has any religion missed the point. Okay, now that's it. Okay? If you don't believe in Jesus Christ, that's up to you, my friend. Your soul is your own. But your spirit, you have a choice. It's the eternal good, that's God, or the eternal evil, that's Satan. That nomenclature, that biblical hermeneutics, well, this is the nation for it. This is the realm for it. Okay? If you don't like it, leave. If you don't like the establishment of fact and truth that emerged, and freedom of speech that emerged from the Enlightenment period, you and your social constructionist buddies can get the hell out. And you can go and live in Europe. Go and live with the EU. Right? And be happy over there. Be content over here. We are going to build a United Kingdom that's going to be the greatest entity on earth. And it does have that potential. What we need to do is have new thinking about our Commonwealth friends. Our Commonwealth relations. I mean, this is the family of man. We are the family of man, and we have to understand it. I mean, I'm not the identikit of my brother or my sister, okay? There's people with philosophies and ideas that I have not seen yet, or they would like to meet me now. We'll have more in akin than many relation. We're a family of man, right? And the Spirit of God resides in all of us. Either we go with it as best we can, or we reject it, okay? God gave us discernment for truth. So this is my Brexit video. I really want you to listen to the Grenadier Glass tune. It's a rousing tune. I really want you to listen to the Queen's coronation. It's important. Lecturers, all you academics, just remember, when you got your Marxist stuff, it's seditious now. It's seditious now. If you don't like this country that affords you, grants you, when you've got this fifth column agenda, undermining and indoctrinating, remember, not one student should be paying a damn thing for indoctrination. They're paying for an education. But that's a different argument. And we'll get there with the videos that I've got. I think I am, I pretty much finished the point I'm trying to make about Brexit. I think most of the other arguments have been made and are being made by good politicians and good patriots. And if there's one abiding memory I want you to have, is to, when you're phoning into these shows, use the word sedition and use the word traitor, because that's what it is. And the more you actually emphasise that, because there's lots of arguments we can make, but we need to know that on the EU continent, you've got no freedom of speech. Okay? You have none. Okay? It's its own entity. It won't even abide by the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or the European Convention of Human Rights, or, what's greater than that? God, the Creator. Okay? So, with that, I bid you a good morning and a happy weekend, Saturday. And thank you.
History links monarchs and parliament, a connecting thread from one period to the next. So in an era when the regular, worthy rhythm of life is less eye-catching than doing something extraordinary, I'm reassured that I am merely the second sovereign to celebrate a Diamond Jubilee. It is my sincere hope that the Diamond Jubilee will be an opportunity for people to come together in a spirit of neighbourliness and celebration of their own communities. We also hope to celebrate the professional and voluntary service given by millions of people across the country who are working for the public good. They are a source of vital support to the welfare and well-being of others, often unseen or overlooked. And as we reflect upon public service, let us again be mindful of the remarkable sacrifice and courage of our armed forces. Much may indeed have changed these past 60 years, but the valour of those who risk their lives for the defence and freedom of us all remains undimmed. The happy relationship I have enjoyed with Parliament has extended well beyond the more than 3,500 bills I have signed into law. I am therefore very touched by the magnificent gift before me, generously subscribed by many of you. Should this beautiful window cause just a little extra colour to shine down upon this ancient place, I should gladly settle for that. We are reminded here of our past, of the continuity of our national story, and the virtues of resilience, ingenuity, and tolerance which created it. I have been privileged to witness some of that history, and with the support of my family, rededicate myself to the service of our great country and its people, now and in the years to come.
Lecturers, all you academics, just remember, when you got your Marxist stuff, it's seditious now. It's seditious now. If you don't like this country that affords you, grants you, when you've got this fifth column agenda, undermining and indoctrinating, remember, not one student should be paying a damn thing for indoctrination. They're paying for an education. But that's a different argument. And we'll get there with the videos that I've got. I think I am... I pretty much finished the point I'm trying to make about Brexit. I think most of the other arguments have been made and are being made by good politicians and good patriots. And if there's one abiding view, memory I want you to have, is to, when you're phoning into these shows, use the word sedition and use the word traitor, because that's what it is. And the more you actually emphasise that, because there's lots of arguments we can make, but we need to know that on the EU continent, you've got no freedom of speech. Okay? You have none. Okay? It's its own entity. It won't even abide by the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or the European Convention of Human Rights, or, what's greater than that? God, the Creator. Okay? So, with that, I bid you a good morning, and a happy weekend, Saturday, and thank you.